Hey everyone, welcome back to Launch Codes Football. My name is Chris W.
And I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chris P.
And today we have the NFL starting so soon in like 24 hours from when we're recording. So we got a lot to take on today. But first, I just want to ask my two fellow guests and hosts and wonderful people that you are, how's it going?
Going good. Going good. This week should be fun. Can't wait for the start of football. Can't wait to watch the Lions hopefully be competitive on offense tomorrow on Thursday. And can't wait to watch Anthony Richardson's first game. And can't wait to watch Bryce Young's first game. So, I mean, lots to look forward to.
All right, I can't wait. If you can't see me and you're listening to this right now, I'm wearing my Chiefs jersey right now. Good old Patrick Mahomes putting on that good luck for tomorrow's game. I understand we have a few injured players on our roster, but we should make it out.
Yeah.
Hey, you're the Chiefs. It'll probably work out.
Andy Reid will find some dumb play to work for something and it'll be great.
Yeah.
Okay, well actually, do you guys want to dive a little bit into that game? What are our predictions? What do we think is going to happen tomorrow here?
You talking score predictions?
Sure. Yeah, let's get a score prediction.
I mean, I think that the Chiefs are going to win, but I think that the Lions will put up a decent showing on offense. I mean, they were fire on offense the last half of last season. So I'd be surprised if that doesn't carry into the first half of this season, at least a little bit. Like, I don't expect them to drop 3 points and like that be it. So, but I mean, I don't expect them to win, but I could see them dropping, 20 plus points, especially against a defense that doesn't have Chris Jones right now. So, I mean, I don't know. I'll go 31-24.
Okay. 31-24 Chiefs.
Yes, Chiefs.
Okay. Chris, what about you? What do you think? Score prediction.
Man, it is hard to think about that. You have a great offense, now he doesn't have all his best wide receivers. They're basically rookie receivers besides this is Scantling and Marquez Scantling, I believe. And then yes, I believe Sky Moore, who is potentially could be injured depending on tomorrow's roster. So you have a lot of wide receivers that are technically have some sort of experience. I'm going to put the score the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions will be 21-28. The Chiefs to win.
Wow.
21-28.
Choosing the Lions. Nice.
No, he said Chiefs.
No, I said the Chiefs.
Oh, I heard Lions at the end. I was
Lions.
like, wow, that's bold. I expected more of a reaction from us for that. Yes, Chiefs. I concur. But again, like you're saying, closer than people might be expecting if they didn't really follow much about the Lions last year, which, to be fair, I was born in 1998. The Lions have literally been terrible my whole life, except for like 1 year, which was last year. So can't really blame the public for not really following them that closely when they've just been terrible for decades. So what about you, Chris? What do you think?
All right. So I think that, you know what? I think the Lions can do it. It is going to be a very tough game, but I'm going to say they win this 33-30 somehow. I know
winner?
they're in Kansas City, and I know it's tough, but look, we've been hyping up the Lions. If they are going, like the whole NFL media has been hyping up the Lions since the end of last year. They've been like, the Lions are officially, they have a chance to be competitive. This is their chance now. So I think they need to make a statement game one and win in Kansas City. Beat the defending Super Bowl champs for your first game. And so,
but is it going to be a walk-off field goal?
I think it might have to be. I think
bold.
I don't see Mahomes getting blown out week one unless he just hasn't practiced all off season and is running I'm not going to practice all off season and see what happens challenge, which, okay, I'm not going to lie, would be kind of funny if he had like some content behind that.
Great podcast content right there.
We were talking about Mr. Beast before this and be like, I didn't practice the whole off season and then started game 1 of the NFL season. How did it go? I would honestly love to see a QB try that. They'd probably die out there, but
Probably, and get mega
but
in trouble from everyone.
but
But,
for content,
for the views.
for the views, you know. But I
All
think
right.
that the
That's
Lions can
bold.
do it. Mm-hmm.
So you said, was it 34-31?
33 to 30.
33 to
Lions.
30. All right. That's bold. Well, listener, let us know. Who do you think is going to win the game? I really actually do anticipate it being entertaining. And if it isn't, I will be surprised. In all seriousness, just because of how good their offense was the last half of the year. And I mean, they have Jamar Gibbs now, who's pretty good, and they added some pieces to their defense. So I think that they have potentiality to be even better than they were last year. But let's go ahead and dive into some of the biggest headlines that we think are, of the utmost importance for this first game of the season. I'll go ahead and kick it off. The one that I'm following the closest is Travis Kelce's knee injury. Now, I'm assuming that if you follow NFL football relatively closely, that you saw the reports that came out about how he hyperextended his knee on Tuesday in practice. Currently, he's listed as questionable for Thursday's game. Apparently, he has inflammation, along with his knee currently being hyperextended. They did do the required testing on his knee to make sure that his ACL was intact. And according to a source who told Adam Schefter at ESPN, it was intact. So it doesn't sound like a particularly serious injury, but at the same time, you don't really need a particularly serious injury to miss a game, let alone the first game of the season. So according to his brother, Jason Kelce, center of the Eagles, as we all know, he has some swelling going on, but according to Sky Moore, he did exit the field under his own power after the injury occurred. So it doesn't sound like this would not be the kind of injury that we would be freaking out over during the regular season, right? Because like stuff like this happens all the time. People get sprains, people hyperextend things. They just play through it. It's part of it. It's kind of a commonplace behavior. But the only reason it's getting so much attention right now is, well, number one, because he's Travis Kelce. Number two, because it's the first game of the year. And number three, looking at their receivers, like Chris was saying, I mean, they made it work last year. And it's not to say that they can't make it work this year. And it's not to say that they are not talented. But let's be honest, Kelce runs that passing offense. Like, he is basically wide receiver one. So even if Kelce plays, he's probably not going to be 100%, right? He's not going to heal up from a hyperextended knee in 2 days, right? So the probability he may have limited snaps, I don't know. This is just me conjecturing right now. He may have limited snaps. I mean, he probably isn't going to be able to run at his full speed. He might not be able to jump as high. I mean, there are a variety of things that can stem from knee injuries like this. So let me pose a question to you, Chris and Chris. Who do you think steps up in this offense if Kelce plays, but is not 100%? Or if Kelce doesn't play at all? Because that offense looks vastly different without him, if we're being honest.
Well, Chris, you're the Chiefs fan here, so who's the man stepping up here without Travis Kelce?
Well, you have to understand who throws the ball on the Chiefs. Who is the general on the field? We'll just put that there, because yes, Travis Kelce, like, he is an amazing player, amazing tight end. Like, he helps with the offense. Don't get me wrong. But when Patrick Mahomes, he has multiple weapons. Like, they just drafted Rashid Rice. He's the second back of the wide receiver. I think he has potential for taking the place of being the second wide receiver if Marquez Valdez-Scantling literally gets injured. They have Sky Moore, who played in the Super Bowl last year. They have Kadarius Toney. He looked amazing on the Super Bowl. He loves to play with Patrick Mahomes. They have that connection. And then you have to remember, they have Isaiah Pacheco. They have Jerick McKinnon, who they throw to all the time. So with that being said, I think really Jerick McKinnon will be a play in the role of passing it out, getting those runs, short passes. Isaac Pacheco will hammer it down the middle, and Kadarius Toney, he'll show off his hands and be able to show off like I am the number one wide receiver. I think big things are going to happen with Sky Moore. He was a rookie last year, played great. Can't really expect much from last year going off a Super Bowl to now how it is now. So all I really am concerned is the depth in their offensive line. They're missing Orlando Brown. They're missing a few key pieces. So Mahomes might have to run out of the pocket, have to run a little bit. But really, I think the two people that are going to step up is Patrick Mahomes. He has to play really well, and really Kadarius Toney or Pacheco. Those are the two big people that I believe will step up and show I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I say all that I say under the assumption that we all know that Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Like, Patrick Mahomes could get a bunch of guys off the street and win a Super Bowl. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. Like, he can elevate the play of anyone around him, whether or not they're an undrafted rookie or a seasoned professional. It doesn't matter. So just bear that in mind with my comments. Like, I think they'll still win, even if Kelce doesn't play. Like, he could not play at all, and I think that they'll win. But I do agree. I think that the players that you mentioned are probably going to have to be the ones who step up. And it's going to be interesting to see how their O-line fares, considering, I mean, we remember some of the games in the past couple of years where Patrick Mahomes did not fare too well with that offensive line. And that's the last thing that you want to happen to your quarterback the first game of the season. So it'll be interesting how it pans out. But regardless, I think that they'll still win. But it could have impact down the stretch as the season goes on. So we'll just see. Chris Wiles, what do you think? Who do you think is going to have to step up if Kelce isn't not 100%?
Well, first of all, I just want to shout out the random fact that the Chiefs do have Lamar Jackson playing at corner. So
the most important Lamar Jackson, I might add.
most important one. I mean,
yeah.
His name is Lamar Jackson. Anyways, just thought that was funny. So I think that for the Chiefs, I do think one key component could be MVS. I think that, I mean, he's a veteran, you know, he's got to play with Aaron Rodgers before. And while he may not be a star-studded receiver or something like that, I think he's a reliable guy that I could actually see contributing quite a lot to this offense. But I kind of agree, and I kind of think that with this, right? I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes doesn't need any weapons or that, you know, all of that, but I think that similar to Brady, he makes people just much better around him. Now, obviously, people like Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill, when he was with him, obviously those two guys are just studs, you know, even before he was there. But I really think that I think Mahomes is going to help these guys elevate their game. He's going to teach them things and help them figure out ways to get the ball in the end zone. So they may not be amazing. None of them will probably be Tyreek Hill, but they don't have to be to win, as we've seen before.
That's true. Good point. Well, let's go ahead and transition into our second biggest headline, Chris Jones and his holdout. So take it away.
Yeah, Chris Jones. I mean, from Travis Kelce getting injured to Chris Jones now holding out, it's not much of a surprise since, you know, salaries, people from running backs are wanting more money from Jonathan Taylor to now Chris Jones wanting more. To put in perspective, right now, the highest paid defensive tackle right now is Aaron Donald. That's no surprise there. He leads in sacks, I believe, last year, or he has had crazy stats these past couple of years. And so with that being said, he's getting $31 million per year. To second right now is Quinnen Williams, $24 million per year. Jeffrey Simmons at $23.5 million. So he's not even top three as defensive tackles. And Chris Jones right now is being paid $20 million, which in our daily lives, that's a lot of money for 1 year, right? But you have to understand Chris Jones, he's coming off of a Super Bowl wins, been on this team ever since the first Super Bowl to now to the second Super Bowl. So you got to pay the man. Like, I understand, like we're coming off Super Bowl, we're trying to figure out all our rookie players, got to pay people. But Chris Jones, we don't have Frank Clark, who was taking a lot of chunk of that money. He's gone, and now we have Chris Jones. And for him to hold out, yes, to me, it is a big distraction. It is a big distraction because you're telling your guys, hey, you're going out there without one of the best players out there. And you're basically, people are comparing you to Chris Jones. And Chris Jones added on an interview, he just added that he felt out holding out was less distracting to teammates than a hold in, which is one reason why he stayed away. So he's staying away from practicing. He's staying away saying, hey, just pay me. He also says, just like when you're at a job, you ask for an extension, right? And you ask for a raise, right? You're not letting anyone down, Jones says. But who are you letting down for asking your boss for a raise, right? So when you're taking the personal feelings out of it, all I'm doing is asking for a raise. And don't get me wrong, we're all here. We all need some money. We all need some cash in the pocket. And coming back with his track record and helping out the defense, just pay the man at this point. He's proven his worth throughout the years. He's shown that he provides that sort of pressure on the quarterback, and it's going to show tomorrow's game, to be honest. We're putting in dudes that have sat back and watched Chris Jones destroy the competition, and now they're out there trying to compare themselves to Chris Jones. So right now, it's going to be a struggle on defense. It's going to be a high-scoring game, I believe, and it's going to be interesting. But that's my take. I think it'll be interesting. What do y'all think?
I mean, I agree with you. I think Chris Jones is definitely one of the best defensive tackles, and I do think that he deserves to get paid. Not that he's making chump change right now. I mean, $20 million a year is still pretty fire. But in the grand scheme of the market, I mean, it's just like any market that us average people would look at. Like, prices are going to be dependent upon other prices, right? And it's the same thing with contracts in the NFL. It's just a commonplace occurrence. But yeah, I mean, I totally think that he's worth it. I think that he's the cornerstone of their defense. And if they lose him, their defense looks a whole lot different. When they had all of that turnover a couple of years ago, when they lost a bunch of people to free agency and all kinds of stuff, you know who stayed? Chris Jones. You know who didn't say anything about what he was getting paid? Chris Jones. You know who dominated the next year because he stayed? Chris Jones. So Chris Jones has paid his dues being here, and I do think that he deserves to get paid.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guy is a big time cornerstone for the Chiefs defense. He's a guy that they need. I mean, he is their guy on defense. The Chiefs have not been known for their defense throughout the years, but they have been known for Chris Jones. So I'm not really seeing where the problem I see here is that what leverage does Kansas City really have in this? Like, what leverage does the team have over Chris Jones to not pay him? Honestly, if they don't pay him, they're just saying, you know what, we don't need a defense to win. We just need offense, which is just not true. You need stops eventually. You need guys like Chris Jones to make plays. And so I don't really see where the Chiefs feel like they have leverage in this deal, because it's not like they're going out signing a bunch of defensive studs. It's not like they're thinking, oh, we'll be okay. We have star corners or star this. So I don't know. I don't think they have a terrible defense. They're normally not a terrible defense, but it's just confusing and doesn't really make much sense. And also it's like, why are we still handling this now? Like, this stuff should have been handled months ago. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like I said, I think that Chris Jones deserves to get paid. Now, I don't think Chris Jones is better than Aaron Donald. So if he gets paid more than Aaron Donald, I don't agree, because I think Aaron Donald is better. But anything less than that, I think, is arguable. So I think that he deserves it. And I think that him holding out is going to impact the Chiefs perhaps more than their coaching currently suspects. Because let's be honest, the guys that they are running out there in lack of him are not Chris Jones. So we will definitely see how it ends up going. Based on all of our score predictions, it sounds like we all think it'll be a blowout anyway. Lots of scoring, lots of offense, and not too much defense. So him not being there is a huge contributing factor to that. So continuing, Chris W., let's continue on with what your biggest headline for tomorrow's game is.
So I think well, I don't really think this has to do with the game itself, but I just think it's one of the biggest headlines currently with what's going on with everything. I think that well, I guess so this whole deal, right, with Nick Bosa today, right? He got signed to a huge contract. I guess the question I have is though, like, how is that going to impact all the other defensive ends in the league or defensive players as a whole? Nick Bosa is now the all-time highest paid defensive end in football. Or sorry, just defensive player ever. He's being paid the most of anybody. So I guess it kind of makes you wonder, like, are guys like on this team, like the Chiefs or like Chris Jones, looking at that and being like, hey, he got paid. I want to get paid. Are people on the Lions looking at that like, hey, I want to make that kind of money? You know, what is this going to look like? You know, now for obviously someone like Nick Bosa, he had 18.5 sacks this past year, led the league by far. I mean, and man deserves it. But it's like, where's that going to go? I mean, you're seeing it like with even Brian Burns for the Panthers right now. He's sitting out, and the Panthers desperately need a guy like him to be out there week 1 and every week. So I guess that just makes you wonder, like, beyond even this first game, right? Like, if these teams are really having trouble just getting these deals done, I mean, I wonder how that's going to impact these teams.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in response to this, relating it back to the Lions Chiefs game, I think that Chris Jones is going to look at this and probably have some feelings about it. Now, you know, let's go ahead and get out of the way that they're different positions, right? They have different skill sets, they do different things. Some of the same stuff they do well, but at the end of the day, they aren't the same position. So I don't think that you can compare perfectly between him and Chris Jones. However, I think Chris Jones is looking at that and looking at his person that he's talking with and saying, hey, Mr. Agent, this is what I want. I know that it's a different position, but this kind of money with this amount of money that he's guaranteeing, like per year, like I want something like this. I want guaranteed money. So absolutely, I think that he is looking at this and probably feeling some feelings about it. I also was thinking about Aiden Hutchinson, right? The Lions took him not too long ago. Aiden Hutchinson is still on his rookie deal, right? But as we're seeing with other positions across the league, such as Jonathan Taylor, still having a year left of his rookie deal, already requesting an extension with a year left after he was injured last year. So Aiden Hutchinson is probably looking at this and going, hey, I know I'm not Nick Bosa, but I'm a young, healthy, extremely talented defensive end on my rookie contract. When I have a year left, I want to get paid too. So I think that this is going to create shockwaves across the entire league. I mean, you don't become the highest paid player on defense in NFL history for no reason, right? you don't just become that. People just don't throw money at that. Now, you know, are the 49ers going to be a couple years into the future thinking to themselves, wow, we have no money to navigate or do anything at all? Maybe. I don't know. But it goes to say, I think it's going to send shockwaves, regardless of if you're a defensive player or not. You're going to know that people have the capacity to pay this kind of money. And that alone is enough for players to keep in their brains, in my opinion.
And something I want to add with that is that, you know, even beyond tomorrow night's game against Lions and Chiefs, right? This is going to be talked about through the whole season. There will be people sitting out for quite a while. There's a lot of different opinions about whether people should sit out or not. You know, I'm a little bit more towards, you know, people should be paid. You know, they're putting their bodies out there on the line, and if they get injured, then here's another thing: NFL teams do not care about you. The NFL is a league. Unless you are someone like Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, a star QB. You can be the stud even at your position, but if you're a stud
face of the
corner,
NFL, that's what you have to be.
Pretty much. That's the only time they'll really care about you. Other than that, they'll just find someone else. And even with the good to star QBs, they'll still try to find somebody else. So I really can't necessarily blame the players for maybe some of them wanting to wait out. It's hard to, but also, I mean, yes, I do think these teams need their guys. And I'm very interested to see, I guess, how the sitting out goes. I mean, look at someone for like Jonathan Taylor, for example, stud running back. But obviously, I think running backs are a little bit different of a conversation
Yeah,
because
I agree.
unfortunately, that's just how it is for them right now. But this is just something that's going to go down affecting the rest of the year. You notice something though. This never happens to QBs. QBs don't have to worry about sitting out and all of that, or it's at least very rare. And
It's like they're the most valued position on the team or something.
because teams know immediately like whether they want to keep their guy or not, like that. So it shows to me that these teams have the capability to get these deals done. I mean, you don't see quarterback deals going down. Like Patrick Mahomes' big deal a few years ago for like 10 years for $500 million, something crazy like that, right? You didn't see that getting done a week before the season, a day before the season. You saw that done months in advance. You saw that done with so much time. It was ridiculous. So to me, it shows, look, the teams have the resources and the ability to pay these guys instantly. It's not as hard as maybe some of them probably want us to believe it is to pay them. When they want to pay a guy, they will pay them. So, yeah, that's kind of what I think. I think teams don't really care about their players that much, to be real, unless they are a star QB. Sometimes maybe a star defensive end. Sometimes they'll care about them. But just to be real, I'm gonna be interested to see if there's a shift in that dynamic for the next coming years. And honestly, if I'm Chris Jones tomorrow, right, for example, of course you don't cheer for your team to lose. But do you almost like in a way think, man, I hope that they need me. I want them to need me because let's say tomorrow someone for the Chiefs comes out and just has some defensive tackle just comes out and has 4 sacks. Then the Chiefs are going to have leverage. So I don't know. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's true. Chris P, you have any thoughts?
A lot. I have to take this in a way of like the background of business. These owners, they're capped at a cap limit. They can't spend $1 billion all at once. Everyone has a budget, and is willing to say, how much can we budget for this? Yes, Nick Bosa, he's a young player. He has great stats. Don't get me wrong. But the thing is, they're not paying McCaffrey the bank. You don't see him asking, "Hey, I threw the ball as a quarterback in the Super Bowl, not in Super Bowl, but in the playoff. I'm helping your team out a lot. Why don't you pay me?"
Well, he is getting a
Obviously,
big contract already, though.
yes,
From the
but he's not
Panthers.
sitting out and holding out and saying, "Hey, pay me more."
Because
Like,
they got his deal done months before the season started, though.
correct, but just like Jonathan Taylor, he's sitting out on his rookie and saying, "Hey, you're paying," just like that instance. Why aren't you paying me more? The every year it keeps going up. Why aren't you updating it? And that's the thing. There's a price market. Quarterbacks there. Once you find your franchise quarterback, you're going to pay him the bank because you do not want them to leave, or you don't even want them to be touched, really. And really, don't get me wrong, Chris Jones, he's 29 years old. If you're paying in the bank, I've seen people pay people the bank and they are terrible the next couple of years. And just because they're holding out, that also doesn't help their leverage in a way. Because if they don't pay them, they're getting fines. They're not really getting paid very much. They're not playing, they're just watching and saying, "Hey, pay me more money." Why should they? Honestly, why should? And that's the thing. Chris Jones is business, I don't expect when I leave here, go to work. If I don't go to work, I'm not getting paid. Sorry to say that. I might get fired the next day. That's the worst thing. And with Chris Jones, he can sit out. Yes, he can sit out and sit on there, but he's accruing fines. He's accruing that he doesn't have good sportsmanship. Really? it doesn't show good behavior. We've seen Le'Veon Bell, who sat out. Where is he right now? He's not in the
Good
league,
point.
tell you that. So a lot
Mhm.
of people have sat out and have ruined their careers. I'm going to say that now. It's much better to play, say, hey, can you negotiate with the contract? I'm playing really well. Give me some incentives. Like if you want me to show you how good I am, show me. I'll show you. I can give you 5 sacks per game. I can show you. And if I do that, you're upping it. And
Mhm.
that's something that they need to put in for incentives for older
Yeah.
players. Myles Garrett, he's getting older. There need to be incentive plans like you want to get paid the highest, you have to perform the highest, you know. And I think they're asking too much of owners. I'm going to say that I'm more on the half and half. Yes, players want more money, but the owners, they can only do so much. And the thing is, they need to have incentive plans, kind of like Gronk. Literally, he was playing and he needed one more catch to get $1 million incentive, right? And he went out there, caught it, and he got $1 million. We need more of that in there, giving them more chances to be able to like, hey, let me prove to you how much I'm worth, and I can show it to you. That's what I believe that needs to happen in a lot of these deals. Doesn't need to happen with quarterbacks, but needs to happen towards corners, running backs, and really tight ends, all the other players, because show me what you can do. So that's my stance. Really, that's the market is hard. Unfortunately, it's difficult. Inflation's going up, salaries going up. What more do you want from them?
So
Yeah, and I mean
yeah.
those are definitely valid points. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, something that's interesting and that you do bring up a good point is what if they just could make things like incentives bigger, you know? Because actually, you look here at salary cap or incentives do not go against the salary cap. Now that's probably meaning, and you know, if I'm wrong about this, I understand, but that probably means that the owners have to pay out of their own pocket, which all of them are billionaires by far. So frankly, that really shouldn't be an issue. I mean, actually, they already pay coaches. Coaches' money all comes from the owner. So I mean, and you know, we can see coaches who have never had any NFL experience get a 7-year deal for $60 million, you know.
Matt
So
Rule.
but I think that maybe you're right. Maybe the bonuses could be bigger. Maybe that's something they could. I really think maybe just the Players Association and the owners need to figure out a better balance because, you know, to figure out kind of a good middle ground for everybody. Maybe rework some
Yeah.
things.
That's what's the point is like a lot of these quarterbacks like Mahomes have restructured their contract. They don't put that on the online of like they'll probably go up to like, hey, I know you're going to get 2,000 passing yards. You're going to achieve that. We'll pay out of pocket for that, but we need to lower your contract right now to be able to pay these higher players. Don't get me wrong, but that's how a lot of these quarterbacks, a lot of these things are restructuring. Is because they're putting it more towards incentives, and they know they can get there. They're just putting that money and paying people under the table so that they can increase to other people's wages. And that's something that I think the NFL will turn a blind eye towards that. Like, okay, you can do incentives towards them, lower their contract, and then we won't say anything. You don't see that a lot in the news saying, oh, they got incentive. The only one that really popped up was when Gronk caught that one catch that got him the incentive of $1 million. But you don't hear that from Aaron Donald, how many sacks or pressures he has, how many assists. Like, hate to say that, that's how they live, sponsorships, stuff like that, commercials, stuff like that. And they get extra money from that. I'm sure Nick Bosa's not just getting $175 million for 5 years. He's getting other incentives from commercials, stuff like that. And so they can live off of that. But thing is, Chris Jones right now, if I was a company looking to be a commercial and trying to give him money, I wouldn't, because he's not really giving me the good vibe of he's a good player. Yes, but does he have a good attitude? Not really. He's not showing it to his teammates. So as an owner, I wouldn't touch Chris Jones with a 10-foot pole if he's going to ask me every year, pay me some more. So I'm in the middle because you can pay him. I did say you need to pay him, but pay him in different ways.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that you bring up a lot of good points. I mean, obviously, I don't think any of us think that holding out and not playing is the answer to this, right? Like you sitting out and not playing and not doing what you need to do to stay game ready is not helping anyone. It's not helping you. It's not helping your agent. It's not helping your team. It's not helping your management. And it's not helping your public image either. So no one is going to sit here and say, oh, yes, I think that he should hold out because that's the best thing for everyone. Like none of us think that. But I do think that you make a good point. Chris Jones is very good. Don't get me wrong. And he's one of the best at his position. I don't think many people are going to argue that. But he is getting older. And has he regressed? No. But inevitably, that time is going to come. So that may be some of the reservation that the Chiefs have in regards to signing him to a mega contract, because they sign him to, what, say a 5-year deal, just being hypothetical here. 5-year deal, he makes more than Aaron Donald makes. Say he signs 5 years, $35 million. All right. That's entirely reasonable. I mean, if he's asking for more than Aaron Donald is making, it would not surprise me if they just rounded it up to a round 5 and just paid it. You know, that wouldn't surprise me. But say he gets hurt, right? He's out for a year. Say he sustains an injury that's not serious but doesn't go away, right? And it diminishes his production. So, and that's part of the argument with Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor was hurt last year, right? He still has a year left of his contract. Prove to us that you can stay healthy and that you can still be elite. We'll pay you. It feels like kind of the same thing here. Yes, he's not injured. Our guy isn't injured. No one is, I mean, as far as I know, he's not injured. But, I mean, he's an essential part of this team. They are going to suffer a lot without him there. But at the same time, it is a business. And as much as that hurts people to say, it is. Like, the NFL is an entertainment business. Like, is it a way for people to make their livelihood? Absolutely. What, do you think that undrafted rookies who get invited to training camp and make the roster don't go home in exuberant joy because they made a couple $100,000? Like, that's literally their livelihood. So it's not to say that that can't be that too. But at the end of the day, it is a business. Like, that's why quarterbacks have so much power. Remember when Tom Brady was like, hey, I want that guy and that guy? And when Aaron Rodgers was like, I want that guy and that guy and that guy. And then they have the power to say, all right, restructure my contract. Take $10 million off here, $2 million off here, $5 million off here. I'll hit it, whatever. Give it to those guys so I can have them so that our whole team is good. That's what I want. So, and they're probably dealing with that same thing. I mean, they already paid Mahomes, right? He's their big guy, right? If you're going to pay anyone, it's going to be the quarterback. I mean, if you pour $35 million a year, theoretically, into Chris Jones for 5 years, you're not going to have much room to navigate in free agency, in trade talks, even with signing draft picks once they're off their rookie deals. You're not going to have much flexibility. So I think that viewing it like a business is essential, but I think at the same time, players do deserve to get paid what they get paid. But I do agree with you. You got to be creative, because if you're out here giving everyone $25 million guaranteed left and right, I mean, that's not going to pan out for well for you in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You're going to be handicapped. Look at the Rams now. They have Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald. And that's it, basically. Like, they're going to be terrible. And they threw all of the money at everyone and they got their Super Bowl. And that's what they wanted. And now they're paying the price for it. So if I'm Chiefs ownership, I probably don't want that. I probably see that and I'm afraid. I'm like, dang, I don't want to be like them and have 2 good players on my entire team and waste Mahomes the rest of his career. Like, that doesn't sound like a good plan to me. So I think it's a delicate balance. Like, pay the guy. The guys that deserve to get paid should get paid. Otherwise, they're just going to get paid by someone else. So pay them, but figure out how to do it in a way that doesn't handicap your team for 5+ years, like we're seeing with the Rams.
Yeah, and Chris Jones also he's holding out a good amount. And really, if we trade him, he's going to want more money somewhere else too. So that's the only thing. We'll have dead cap if we cut him, and if he doesn't play for half the season. Because if he doesn't play half the season, what's the point of keeping him? Really, he's just taking a roster spot. Let's put someone else that might be a rookie. Let someone from the practice squad replace him, because at this point, it doesn't sound like he wants to he's not cooperative in wanting to find a deal, nor is the Chiefs ownership right now. So I think until tomorrow's game, we'll have to see if they win or if they lose. No matter what, Chris Jones his agent will surely look into some sort of deal as soon as possible.
And remember a while back, like a month or so ago, when all that controversy with Jonathan Taylor was going on, and that horribly butchered quote from Jim Irsay came out about paying or not paying players, and everyone made fun of him because he just sounded like a lunatic, which, to be honest, if you read the quote, he kind of did. But basically what he was saying is that players are replaceable. Like, you could have the best quarterback of all time. You could have the best running back of all time. You could have the best defensive end of all time. At the end of the day, you can find someone to replace them. Are you going to get the same production? No. Are you going to get the same chemistry? Probably not. Are you going to have the same impact on your team in intangible ways? Most likely not. But at the end of the day, if you have to replace someone, you can make it work. So him saying that, everyone flamed him for it. But in all actuality, that's kind of what everyone thinks. That's why the running back market is terrible right now. It's not because they don't want to pay their players. It's because they don't want to pay their players so much that it handicaps them for 5 years. That's what the deal is. That's the delicate balance between being a business owner and recognizing that you want to have success at the same time. And that's why franchises such as the Patriots impress so many people, including myself, for how they navigated things and how they figured it out, while having the best quarterback of all time on their team for the vast majority of his career. I mean, people say all the time that Tom Brady played with nobodies at wide receiver, at running back, at tight end. I mean, excluding Gronk, obviously. And I mean, if you look at it, generally speaking, outside of the names that we all know and love, that's kind of true. So it's not to say that you can't still make it work, because the Patriots did with Belichick and with Brady. And obviously, I don't think any franchise in the near future is going to come close to what they did, right? Because the run that they went on was astronomical. But at the same time, they're kind of the ones who proved that you can do it without shelling away money. So we'll just have to see how it works out. But I would really not want to be the Panthers right now for Brian Burns. They really should have signed him before this news came out, because now he's going to want close to the amount that Nick Bosa made. And we all know, we love Brian Burns. Brian Burns is great. He's a young cornerstone of that defense, but he does not deserve Nick Bosa money. Let's just be honest. So I am not feeling particularly well if I am Panthers ownership right now, but that's a discussion for another day.
All right, good stuff here we got today, guys. I think some spicy things in here. But yeah, everyone listening, let us know what you think. Are you more on the, hey, business is business, or are you more on the side of pay everybody, or maybe not everybody, but pay the players? So I think it's a really interesting conversation with a lot of different places that you can come at it from.
And if you have an extra $20 million, you can always give it to me.
Amen.
Yeah, true. You can give it to us, and then we'll put it back in the show, and then
yeah.
Then we can just ask the players directly if we have that kind of money.
You're like, Chris Jones, what do you think about your contract situation right now?
Okay, well, I think that's pretty much it for what we've got today. Is that right?
Yep, that's all we got for today.
Okay, so, well, I think we'll end it off here. Chelsea, you want to do our outro for us?
Yeah, of course. So thanks for listening, guys. Tune back in next week for more content. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at LaunchCodesFB and on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at LaunchCodesFootball. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chris W.
And I'm Chris P.
And we will see you next week. Later.
See ya.